aren't the droids we're looking for.
I got a bad feeling about this.
It's them! Blast them!
Hello everybody and welcome back to another Tactics Talk episode. Today I will be covering the CIS core units and special forces. In doing so, I am going to use once again our favorite ranking system of how I rank the units in our 1, 2, and 3 reasons why. I'll bring these up as we go along for the most part if I think any of them super relevant or anything in between. But once again, looking if a unit improves my chances to win, if it's doing its role well, and if it is cost efficient. Once again, CIS is probably one of the best factions, if not the best faction in the game, with the highest win percentage on Longshanks as we speak. With this being said, let's kick it off with a cult classic, which is the B1 battle droid. AI attack, coordinate droid trooper, white dice in melee and white dice at range 1 to 3. 1 health apiece, 1 courage, white defensive dice. They do not surge either way. They are speed 2. These B1 battle droids can take a numerous amount of upgrades. The E5C B1, 3 black and range 1 to 3. And the E5S sniper rifle, range 1 to 4, 1 red, 1 white, critical 1. The E60R with cumbersome impact 2, a rainbow for that, range 2 to 4, and then a radiation cannon at range 1 to 2 for 2 red and poison 1. They've got a ton of different upgrades. You can add an extra B1, you can do a B1 squad, B1 security droid, it lets it ignore AI attack, doesn't really matter anymore. Ohm series battle droid makes it range 2 coordinate, PK for 22 points, is repair 1, capacity 2, non-combatant though. T-Series Tactical Droid gives it reliable 1 and AI attack and is a red dice at range 1 to 3. And then the Viper Recon Droid, last but not least, range 1 to 2 is 2 white dice and observe 2 for 9 points. So lots of weird little niche upgrades that you can take on the B1s, and honestly the B2s get a lot of these personnel upgrades as well. But overall, B1s are cannon fodder. They are the definition of cannon fodder in the game, maybe par Ewoks, but pretty much they exist within the same realm. B1s are kind of tough because on a face value, they look like one of the worst units in the game. It's like, yeah, they don't do anything, they're trash, they are effectively one of the worst rolling statistic units in the game. But what they do start with is 6 models, and they are also coming in at a smooth 38 points. B1s do a lot of things in CIS, and the main thing for me is keep your bag nice and clean. Doesn't matter as much as it used to. It's not like you have to have perfect order control, but you can still have really good order control in this version of Legion and benefit from that greatly. And so in doing so, I think B1s are fantastic. For 38 points, they are essentially objective holders and grabbers nowadays. And they also, once again, they coordinate, so they clean up your bag a little bit, if not completely, depending on how you're wanting to build your CIS list to make sure you have great order control. So in doing so, B1s have one main thing, and that is they die really easily. In old Legion, you would always usually have heavy cover to cancel 2 hits, so you could rely upon that fact and B1s would stick around. Now, a lot of times, you can just roll really bad on your cover save and get nothing, and then your regular save is trash, so you just lose a whole squad. That's usually the conversation piece of why B1s are much worse now, but I would argue the same can be true the other way, where sometimes my B1 squads eat an unnecessarily large shot. The only problem is it's because of the cover save. And that's just not a reliable thing to prey upon, as you hope your B1s have a good enough cover save they stick around. But there's a lot of times someone will shoot like a whole tank into a B1 squad to try to wipe it, and I'm like, oh cool, I got 4 of 8 cover saves and I block 1 with my normal saves, I lose 3 B1s. That's when things are absurd. But because there's a lot of ways to get your opponents out in the open, and there are a lot of things that are melee, flamer, blast, whatever, B1s are susceptible to a lot of that stuff. So I'm just going to give them a good old-fashioned C rating. I don't think they're bad by any means. I think they're fantastic at just filling out activations in CIS. If you want to play big pieces like Dooku or the tank, just bring a bunch of B1s. There's absolutely nothing wrong with them, but there's also nothing really great about them anymore, since order control is not a must necessarily in CIS anymore. but their upgrades are cool too. I like running them with heavy weapon upgrades because B1s are one of my favorite units in the game. Moving on to their big brother, and someone that got a really fresh look in Legion 2.0 is going to be the B2 Battle Droid Squad. AI attack is the only thing on their card, and then 1 red for wrist rockets at range 1, impact 1. Their arm cannons are melee to range 2, 2 black apiece. They're 2 health apiece, 2 courage, red saves, and speed 2. They come in at 3 models, a very unique model count for a core unit in the game of Legion. They can bring the B2 ACM for 24 points, just 3 red, and then they can bring the Haw Trooper, which is a cycle gun that has impact 2 blast, 2 red, and 1 white at 32 points. They have all the same upgrades par. They have, of course, the B2 Super Battle upgrade squad, which you see some people using at 77 points, and then you can just bring 1 extra B2 for 18 points. I think B2s are really good. I am really curious to see what lists pop up now that B2s are back on the shelves, because I know that a lot of people early on, we saw some lists with like Grievous and just 3 B2 super squads, or not 3, like 6 B2 super squads, and that was like the whole list. It was like 7-act Grievous list, and it looks really scary. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of the super squads myself, but with droids not necessarily suffering from suppression that much, it could be pretty interesting. So I'm curious to see what people do now that they have a more unlimited selection of B2s. I'm a huge fan of just using the 2 I have. I have 2 B2s that I just bring an extra guy and the ACM, and they just do work. They can take a hit with the 2 wounds, and just the amount of exemplar and token sharing that you have in CIS now, you can really buff these guys up, where Kalani's just like babysitting 2 squads and giving them all types of tokens. They don't surge, and aggressive tactics is gone now, so I do think that unironically does hurt them. But B2s are just really solid. I don't know. I feel like this is a still unexplored territory because not a lot of people had, 6 B2s sitting on their shelf waiting for Legion 2.0 to do this to them. But I think they're a really good unit. I'm going to put them at B+. I really want to give them an A-, so I'm probably underestimating their value, but I'm going to go with a B+, heavily close to an A-. B2, B+, just sounds better. But my main thing is when they do get tied up, they can get pierced up by Jedi. Big melee blobs like the Ahsoka melee blob can really hurt these dudes. You can tie the B2s down with models, and then you want to play Kalani's 2-pip to get them out. Their offensive dice can come up short with just black dice, no aims, no surges. Without a little bit of support, they can feel lackluster compared to the amount of points you're paying for them. I would say one of the biggest things is, while they are cost efficient, they're not under costed. I feel like they're at a pretty appropriate points value for what they do. I feel like you are paying that premium to bring a B2 squad, but once again, we've got B1s to just negate that more expensive unit and pour more of our love into the B2s. But I think there's tons of ways you can run these guys. Go ahead and bring them in a super squad and just have this really tough to kill objective unit, or just spam them and have a bunch of range 2 threats. But B2s I think are fantastic. I might be undervaluing them here, but I just haven't seen enough of them in different ways other than a couple squads to really elevate them to I'm gonna bring a bunch because they're that broken. With that being said though, we have a unit that I'm just gonna be blunt with you guys. I am not really that familiar with. All of the Geonosians, and I said this in the last video when I talked about Sunfac and Poggle the Lesser, it's just not a very appealing part of Star Wars to me. Like, I just don't care that much about the bugs. Sorry. But it's one of those units that I'm not really interested in buying or learning how to play or putting on the table. But I have played against it a decent amount of times now, and the Geo Warriors are no different. So coming in at 45 points, they are 4 models with a free action of Jump 3, Death from Above, which is essentially if they're on terrain higher than the silhouette of a unit, they get Sharpshooter 2. Scale, weighed down, carrying objective, they slow down. And then in melee, 1 black, and range 1 to 2, 1 white, 1 black. 1 health piece, 1 courage, speed 2, white defense dice, surging to defend. They get a Force Pike Warrior, which you can flip over. One side is a red and black suppressive, and then the other side is overrun, 2 white, 1 black. I really want to see someone use the overrun one more. I feel like that's pretty cool with the free fly action and just, you know, the movement capabilities from some of the cards. But a lot of people just do this next part, which is you can do 11 for a Geo Warrior or 51 to add 5 more Geonosians. I have seen that a couple times now in this edition. Geo Warriors are one of those units that I feel like if a really, really good player just like practiced a Geonosian theme list, I feel like we're gonna see one day in like winning a world championship. That's just my own thought process, that it's like a super high skill unit that you can utilize that move, shoot, free move back, or vice versa, and just never take any wounds. But in my opinion, the reason I don't think we've seen that, or, you know, maybe that's never going to happen, is because that's very table dependent. And that's not really a good feeling to bring an army or units that depend upon something else out of your control. And so with Geonosians, I feel like in the right table, in the right setting, they are absolutely brutal to play against. Lots of, you know, huge line of sight blockers that you can jump up on, shoot stuff, come back down, and repeat that process, maybe while being in range of scoring something. Terrifying. Really can't do a lot about it unless you just have some awesome aggro units that can speed around to the other side and kill those guys. But maybe you just get an open table and maybe there's nothing to jump up on or hide behind, or nothing's close enough to the objectives that gets them in range 2 of units to shoot. There's a lot of problems with that. And on the other side of things, when they're not being hidden behind a line of sight blocker, for their points, it's not like it's bad, but they are very easy to kill. And even just shooting them and giving them that suppression also hurts their action economy to the point that they start feeling bad, or to the point where you wish you just had more B2s or just would have brought B1s to be cannon fodder instead. Coming in at that 45 points for 4 models, I'm not going to say they're overpriced, but when you just lose a squad, it feels so much worse than when you're playing B1s. In other words, when I played against Geonosians and they don't have a terrain piece to game around, I just take them off the table, and maybe when they get in, they do their big shot with the extra squad, but without surging to hit in black and white, a lot of times it just feels pretty lackluster. So I'm going to go ahead and give Geos a C-. I'm giving them slight more respect than they probably deserve, because I feel like there's someone out there that's going to make a Geonosian list and just pop off and show the world that that ability to move twice and one time for free is kind of brutal. But I digress. I'm not hugely familiar with people that play that unit in particular, so not a big deal to me. But moving right along, we will go into Special Forces. Not a very numerous slot in CIS. I will go ahead and mention this first so I don't forget about it. We are first going to talk about the RK-1 Sith Probe Droids. Excuse me, I did not know what the heck they were called. These are Maul's Special Forces that he can bring with him. Otherwise, you cannot bring them because they are Detachment Maul. They have Observe 3, Hover 1 Air, Incognito. There are 3 models throwing 2 white dice with Suppressive at melee to range 2, 1 health apiece, 1 courage apiece, Surge to hit, and 2 defend. 35 points, super cheap activation. Incognito is a really good keyword, as always. It's just the game is very, like I talked about 100 times over, it's very close. Up and personal, so the Incognito is probably going to get popped. The Observe 3 is really good, but I don't know, they're fine. They don't do anything particularly great. They're so squishy that if you give them any type of objective, they're going to lose Incognito most of the time, and then your opponent's just going to one-shot them with 90% of the things in the game. So a lot of times they're just sitting back, observing things, and then maybe later on in the game, they'll try to make a play to just be the super annoying, cheap activation. Hover Air is nice because they can, you know, maneuver around the table, but they're essentially a visible way to get 3 extra, you know, re-rolls on something. So I don't think they're bad by any means. I actually think they're kind of decent. It's just they're so squishy that they could just fly off the table, but they're 35 points, so that's to be expected to some degree. I give the Probe Droids just a C+. I don't think there's anything wrong with them. I call them a little above average because I think there's lots of niche things you can do with them to catch your opponent off guard, and you just won't see them a lot, so people won't necessarily be familiar. But moving straight along into it, we are going to go into the BX series commando droids, and I will respectively immediately talk about the strike team. So the commando droids, they get a sniper, or sorry, let me say the unit card first. They get jump 1, AI dodge or move, impervious, scale, scout 3, sharpshooter 1, 1 black in melee, 2 white at range 1, 2, 3, 1 health apiece, 2 courage, surging to hit, red defense dice, speed 2, 4 models. They also have the sniper, which is range 1 to 5 for 40 points, 2 red, immune deflect, lethal 1, and then the saboteur is a rainbow with blast poison, 28 points at range melee to that. They have a other weapons upgrade for 18-point deflector shields. They give them shielded 2 and recharge 2, allowing them to recover and bring those back. And then swords give them charge, a red and a white apiece for 6 points. I like commando droids. I think they're cool. I mean, EXD just makes them unbearably good almost. So you're going to see them a lot against the EXD players because they can just use those surges to amplify their success. Outside of EXD though, they're okay. They're not necessarily over expensive. They're not anything else. They just kind of clog up your order pool, and CIS just simply has better options in other slots to fulfill this role of, it's not Dooku, it's not a tank, it's not Grievous, it's my other thing that does damage that isn't a B1. You don't really need a 104 point, BX droid with a sniper. I think the snipers are overcosted in this game all the way around. So I think that build just kind of feels bad when you're running a 104 point unit in CIS where you just have better choices. So I think BX droids are just a C+, not calling them bad, so I want to make that apparent. I think the swords with the mine is a really cool combination to have this really intense melee unit that can also poison things. That way if you're going against like clones and things like that, that poison is really nice to just do a guaranteed wound after you've hopefully at least done 1 wound. The range 3 dice pool is kind of what bothers me the most. Those 2 white dice, even though they are surging to hit, if they don't get aims and whatnot, they can feel a little lackluster. So you know what? Actually give them a C. Don't even give them the C+. That was overestimating. It's just the range 3 dice pool really bothers me, and giving it a 40-point upgrade to feel a little bit better with that sniper just isn't worth it. I just would rather be pouring my aims and dodges into B2s rather than commando droids to get the effectiveness I want out of them. Going right on to the strike teams, you can once again bring that mine or saboteur. You can do the shields and swords. I think the strike team is just kind of straight up bad because you're already having to bring a BX droid, and for 60 points you have a range 1 to 5 unit that's shooting. I kind of hate strike teams in particular, so I'm a little biased, but I just don't think they're very good. They're very easy points to pick up off the table a lot of times, and in doing so, they're not really doing a lot on the other end of the table. Game gets too clustered up in the middle too quickly to validate a unit shooting a range 5. Yes, it's some early wounds, but you're paying the premium for them. So I'm going to give the strike team a straight up D. It's even worse too in droids because it's once again clogging up what should be good order control with just this very minute unit that isn't doing a ton. So I give them a D. Going straight on to our last one of Special Forces is going to be the IG-100 Magna Guards. AI Dodge, Move, Charge, Guardian 2 on Commanders only, Immune Melee Pierce, Retinue to Commanders, Unhindered, 2 black, 2 black in melee, 1 white, 1 black at range 1 to 2, 2 health apiece, 2 courage, 3 models, surge to hit, and red defense dice in defense, speed 2. They've got 3 personnel upgrades, one being the Electro Whip Magna Guard for 28 points, 2 red at melee to 1, immobilize and versatile, IG 100 Magna Guard extra miniature for 22, and then the RPS, infamous RPS mind you, for 40 points, 2 to 4, rainbow, critical 1, impact 2. These guys used to be a menace, and you know what? I think they're underrated. I think that people have moved on too quickly from them to go to B2s. I think a squad of these guys in your CIS list is totally valid, especially with how good your commanders are in droids. Dooku, Magna Guard, still fantastic combo. I don't think you're spamming, 3 RPSs anymore or throwing a bunch of these in EXD. They're good, they're solid, but I understand the fall off because B2s have slowly taken their place. in doing so. But IG Magna Guards, in my opinion, are a little underrated. I wish people would run them more. The main reason I think people have stopped as much is because for 4 models and RPS at 112 points, it's a little much. That's a little too many points for a unit that's probably going to be running up the board with Dooku. But dude, bring that Electro Whip, bring that extra Magna Guard and give them like into the fray and just send them with Dooku. And it's really tough to kill Dooku on his way up, even do wounds on him with that Guardian 2, and especially after you dive into melee, if people don't have like melee responses, they're going to want to disengage and shoot your big pieces like Grievous, Dooku, and that's what the IG's for, is to take wounds on themselves and stop that from happening, thus making things like Into the Fray really good. I will say they're a little bit harder to do things with Kalani to give them tokens and whatnot. And yes, it is also hard to do it without aggressive tactics to give them a surge to make them better on defense. But even their range 2 is really decent. So I give Magna Guards a B-. I don't think they're like, oh, you should start bringing these guys, no one's told you about them. People have known about Magna Guards for a long time, and they slowly failed the test of time in terms of remaining the hot topic of their faction. And so in doing so, Magna Guards are a completely solid choice. You do normally want to bring them with a commander now, so their synergy is much more why they're still in this category, as their own independent value has slowly fallen off. You want to get the retinue dodges. You want to make sure you're using all of the commander bonuses for them. You don't want to just accept, oh, this is a good unit and I'm just going to bring it. RPS Magna Guard's still good, just very pricey. You could probably just spam other things in the faction instead. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please, please, please tell me what you guys are running and doing and seeing in the game. We love your feedback. Once again, this video is not an affirmative, I'm right, you're wrong. It is a foundation for those that want to get better at the game or learn more about the game, to just know where everything's at. My headspace is not your headspace. My experiences are not your experiences. I love seeing people use things in a way that is unique and creative that goes against the meta. Don't ever take it like that. Take it as the current state of these units and where they're at, so we have something to build off as a channel when new updates and things come in. So as always, good luck, have fun,